You say never let me.
Nehru's reality, and and Nehru was India's greatest prime minister and the greatest Democrat. So I'm not accusing him for once, as the panelists seem to be saying in his confused venting about various things about Nehru.
Dr. Ranganathan, are you satisfied?
Look, let's be. No, I'm sorry. My thirst remains unquenched. Maybe better luck next time. I had hoped that the previous panelist had not gone personal and said I'm confused and all. Be that it is a fact that an ungreased cycle chain also screeches less. The fact of the matter is, for somebody to call Nehru as the greatest Democrat, the guy who brought in the First Amendment to curtail our free speech, the guy who banned tens of books and films and arrested journalists, he is the greatest Democrat, be that as it may.
Ms. Ghose, let me begin by asking you, what is the fundamental problem with this idea of simultaneous election?
Let's be very clear. In the general elections of 2024, the voter has repudiated the BJP's fanciful idea of one nation, one poll, one leader, one thought, one party, one culture, one religion, one leader. This has been repudiated by the voter in 2024. The voter has voted for multi-party democracy. The voter has voted for the multi-party system. The voter has rejected the one-party state. For the BJP to now float this kite of, this is just kite flying of one nation, one poll is nothing but a weapon of mass distraction. I'm a member of parliament. I would have loved to have been on your show to talk about unemployment, crimes against women. What are we talking about? One nation, one poll, a weapon of mass distraction. The BJP is about to be wiped out in Haryana, will lose in Maharashtra, will lose in the by-polls. Therefore, this is yet another talking point to divert from the real issues. Now, there are 2 points here that I want to elucidate before you. The first is the one of principle. The second is one of the practicality. Principle. This is against the basic structure of the Constitution. The basic structure of the Constitution is India, that is Bharat, is a union of states. Now, this is against diversity. It is against the diversity dividend. It is against the rights of states. It is against the rights of the legislative assemblies. It is against the distinctive identities, issues, realities of every state. So, as a principle, it is against the basic structure of the Constitution. Second, how are you going to do it? You can't even hold Maharashtra and Haryana at the same time because you're so busy that the Ladli Behna benefits have to reach in October. So you postponed Maharashtra elections to October. You can't even do Haryana and Maharashtra at the same time. And you are taking on this enormous, humongous task of one nation, one poll, you will have to get this ratified by the state assemblies. You will have to dissolve the state assemblies. There will be multiple legal challenges.
Okay.
The legal architecture of this is going to take you at least 10 years.
Okay. Now,
I would also like to make another point. The head of this committee, this top-down committee that has been set up to on this one nation, one poll is Ramnath Kovind, the distinguished former 14th president of India. A president is never made the head of a committee. This is humiliation of a president. You cannot bring a president and make him a head of a committee. So you have humiliated the president. You are kite flying. It's a weapon of mass distraction.
Right.
You will not be able to implement it for 10 years.
oh my God, weapon of mass distraction.
Legislation
Okay.
that is involved, and it is against the basic structure. It is against the diversity of India.
Okay, Ms. Ghose. Ms. Ghose,
Diversity dividend.
that's great for an opening argument. You were talking about principle and practicality. On principle, I have a straightforward question, man. When the simultaneous polls were held under the leadership of Prime Minister Nehru, no one questions the principle even now.
Please be very clear.
No, 1 minute, ma'am,
Please
1
be
minute.
very clear.
And the second aspect, just hear me out, ma'am. The other is about practicality. Isn't it a bit rich for the TMC to talking about how to hold elections? Have you forgotten what the courts have said about how elections are held in West Bengal? Should I read out what Justice Amrita Sinha, judge of the Calcutta High Court, said? The elections is to be stopped. The condition is such in a panchayat election with so much violence, unrest, bloodshed. It's a shame for the state. Court can understand what the situation is. I'm getting matters where people are being beaten up. They are threatened with rape and murder. This is panchayat election, ma'am. You're talking about practicality.
Let us understand 2 points. The reality of the 1960s is a 360-degree difference from what the political reality is now. Politics is now hyper-local. You have a multiplicity of parties, a multiplicity of governments, a multiplicity of states. You have political parties representing small demographics. You have political movements representing small demographics. The political landscape in India is hyper-localized, much more
Which is why I asked you what happens to panchayat elections in West Bengal. I understand. Even if we were to take your argument of the elections being hyper-local, ma'am, nothing explains the mismanagement of the panchayat elections, Ms. Ghose. Okay, Dr. Ranganathan.
As far as the conduct of elections are concerned, let us not go into the election commission and the manner. And first, let us talk about how the election commission is unable to secure a level playing field, is unable to create fair and fair elections, is unable to hold elections in a free and fair manner because of the interference.
Let's get in the others. Ma'am, let's quickly get in the others. Dr. Ranganathan, what do you make of the proposal and the arguments made by Ms. Sagarika Ghosh?
No, it's not about the arguments made by one panelist. First of all, good evening, Pranesh, and good evening to my fellow panelists. May I please begin, before I come to the thrust of my thesis, gently quiz you over something, with your permission?
Please, sir, please go ahead.
Thank you. Pranesh, what is common between GST, erecting huge flagpoles, bullet trains, OROP, playing national anthem in cinema halls, Aadhaar, Land Acquisition Act, CAA, the new parliament building, the 3 farm laws, and one nation, one election?
The opposition's opposition.
That comes secondary. But what is common is they were all Congress ideas. They were all implemented first by the Congress.
That's right.
And the tragedy is the moment Congress comes in opposition, it starts flagging and opposing the very ideas that it has implemented for 60, 70 years. By the way, for my previous panelists to say that the difference between 60s and now is 360 degrees, 360 degrees isn't difference at all. It should be 180 degrees. But let's talk about not the hypocrisy of the Congress when it is opposing the very ideas that it has implemented, because it's a hypocrite, a party that is built upon hypocrisy. So it doesn't mind that. The question is, when the Congress is opposing this one nation, one election, it is going to the nub of criticizing Nehru. For 15 years, the Congress implemented one nation, one election. 4 to 5 general elections and state elections were held simultaneously, synchronously. And now for you to say that Nehru was destroying the constitution, Nehru was against the framework of constitution, is just hypocrisy gone ballistic. I don't know how Congress and its supporters will survive that. Be that as it may. Now let me in the next 1 minute just tell you the facts about the one nation, one election and the whole issue. I must admit that right now I am, as you said, it requires a very nuanced discussion. I still am undecided about it, to be honest about it, because there are pros and cons. There are advantages and disadvantages. Let me mention a few. The clear advantages are you will save an enormous amount of money, running into possibly lakhs of crores, as some estimates say, although I would love the government to give a bona fide estimate. It is said that for the last Lok Sabha election, the central government officially spent 5,000 crores. Obviously, the unofficial figure would be 10 times that. So yes, you're going to save a lot of money when you synchronize the elections. Number 2, the administrative costs are going to be less. The administration that is forced to go from one place to the other perpetually all through the 5 years, possibly more, is now going to be concentrated on just maybe the so-called one nation, one election season of a month or month and a half. So yes, you're going to save a lot on that. And finally, very importantly, the lot of money, time, resources that are spent by our security forces, I think that is addressed by one nation, one election. So you don't have to perpetually be on the move, having tens of thousands of CRPF and other additional forces being deployed for central as well as state elections. Right. You do it in one go. The disadvantage obviously is, Pranesh, it's an emotional one. We are, without being patronizing, we're a very emotional people. I give you one example of the tragic assassination of Mrs. Indira Gandhi, and the aftermath of that, someone who had zero political experience fought the elections and won 415 seats. And I dare say if the state elections were held synchronously with the central election, Rajiv Gandhi and Congress would have swept each and every election. Some people would rightly bring out the thing about Pulwama. Yes, so we get, as a nation, swayed by emotional issues. Having said that, it does make sense to have local issues differentiated properly from the central ones. So yes, I am undecided. That's my honest opinion.
Sagarika Ghosh, ma'am, do you believe this is an unconstitutional move?
I'll explain it to you. Let me explain it to you. There's a fog of misinformation here. So let me just set down a few points which I think will be beneficial for your panelists and for your viewers. I completely agree with my colleague from the Samajwadi Party who says that this is yet another Jumla. Now, the fact is that on the practicality, how is it going to work, right? If a government falls midterm, if the central government falls, what happens to the rest of the state governments?
That is yet to be decided, Ms. Ghosh.
If a state government falls, does the central government will it lose its term? What I'm saying is that the legislation on this exercise, please understand, a law has to come with a lot of legislative points with it. It's a legislative omnibus. Now, to create the legislation of this is going to take, and I welcome the BJP to come to the Trinamool Congress. We will hold a tutorial. A legislation of this nature will take at least 10 years. It's going to take 10 years. How will you dissolve the assemblies? How will you convince the assemblies to ratify
Ms. Ghosh,
a law
for the concerns that you expressing, we have something which is called the Parliament, of which you are a member. This will be discussed there. It does not have to be in the TMC office. But answer a question. You've been saying that the BJP ma'am, you've been saying that the BJP is a huge, strong election machine, correct? You believe that?
I believe it's an election machine,
okay.
Yes.
Then, so if they are going to hold one nation, one poll, isn't it good for you? Now imagine, all of you, the alliance partners, can rally your forces together at once.
Mr. Roy, it is not about whether it's good for you and it's bad for you. You ask the question of whether it is against the Constitution.
Okay.
The Constitution does not specify one nation, one government.
Wonderful, ma'am. I was wanting to come to this point. Now that you're talking about the Constitution talks about UCC. Now tell me, do you back the UCC?
I thought we were talking about one nation, one...
Of course, you were talking about the Constitution. I'm talking about what the Constitution says.
Now we are focusing here on
you will talk about only one provision of the Constitution.
And in this debate, we have to look at whether the Constitution is saying, should we be a one nation, one government?
The Constitution says that let's strive to bring in uniform civil code. Dr. Ranganathan, you see how the goalpost keeps changing by the minute.
The Constitution also
says...
I'll come to you.
Now, not just the goalpost, the entire stadium has changed. No, but 3 points very quickly. Number one, मैं IP सिंह जी की बहुत रिस्पेक्ट करता हूं, बहुत इरुडाइट हैं और बड़े भाई की तरह हैं, लेकिन इनको लगता है वो नोटिफिकेशन मिला नहीं because Pranesh, one of the parties that is supporting the one nation, one poll is actually Samajwadi Party. समाजवादी पार्टी has come out in support of one nation one poll. तो आपको थोड़ा सा ये आज थोड़ी गलती हो गई, इनको पता नहीं चला कि अखिलेश यादव and समाजवादी पार्टी are supporters of one nation one poll. Number two, somebody please explain again what were the differences 50 years ago when Jawaharlal Nehru for 15 years was against the constitution, against the structure, federal structure of the constitution, and right now the Congress is saying that no, that was not the case. And finally, my good friend Tehseen, I need to say this, it's very important. Tehseen was asked to talk about the disadvantages and advantages of one nation, one poll. Instead, he's talked of the obvious, which I agree with him. BJP is a hypocritical party, of course it is. So for him to say, wax eloquent about why aren't 3 or 4 state polls being, not synchronized right now, BJP would like to take advantage, whatever little it can, whatever more it can. The point is, it is also the BJP that has brought this to the floor of the parliament. You need to accept that, Tehseen, and talk about the issues. You are not able to tell even single point that is against one nation, one poll.
Right.
And
Tehseen,
you're just
before you
talking
answer that, the
about
first question was addressed to Sagarika Ghosh. It's only fair that she gets to answer the question on the issue of principle and how Nehru's or one nation, one poll under Nehru was not anti-constitution.
That's the one
The panelist is thirsty for answers, and I'm ready to answer this question. The fact is that I commend the curiosity and thirst for knowledge. It's important. The thirst and quest for knowledge must always be with us. The political context, as I said, from the 1960s to now has completely changed. It's chalk and cheese. It's completely different now. Nehru's reality, and Nehru was India's greatest Prime Minister and the greatest Democrat. So I'm not accusing him for once, as the panelists seem to be saying in his confused venting about various things about Nehru. I'm not for a second suggesting that Nehru did not want to uphold the federal structure, that he did not want to uphold the rights of states. But what has happened now is, with the rise of the regional parties, with the rise of smaller parties, which represent very small demographics, with the rise of a highly diversified and localized polity, we now have a situation where Indian politics has become hyper-local. It's not even state-wise. It is actually constituency-wise. It is
Ms. Ghosh, who's denying that? You're saying it for the fifth time. Who's denying that?
Now,
things have become hyper-local.
Polity. Now, 1 minute. Let me finish, Mr. Roy. You have a thirst for knowledge.
That's okay. We should all have thirst for knowledge.
So, the idea that you can have a national referendum, that every election will be a referendum on a single leader, a referendum on a single party, a national referendum, goes against the spirit of the times, because we have become a multi-party, multi-government, multi-local, diverse, democratic, highly localized polity. It doesn't suit the times. Nehru's time was different. It was a simpler polity. There were two parties. It was not the regional parties didn't exist.
Is TDP a national party or a regional party? Ms. Ghosh, 1 minute, ma'am.
It is a completely
No, you'll have to quench my thirst. 1 minute.
Yeah,
Is TDP a regional party or a national party?
I beg your pardon?
Is TDP a regional party? Is BSP a regional party?
What is the question here?
I'll tell you. Answer the first part.
Of course, these are regional parties.
Then they are not afraid. They are backing this proposal.
I am speaking about it from the point of view of the Constitution, from the point of view of the Trinamool Congress, and from the point of view
now
of...
when I asked you a question on Constitution, on the principle of UCC, you said, let's talk about this. But Dr. Ranganathan, are you... I'll come to you. Tehseen, 1 minute. Look at the tutorial that we are having here. 1 minute. Dr. Ranganathan, are you satisfied?
Let's be... No, I'm sorry. My thirst remains unquenched. Maybe better luck next time. I had hoped that the previous panelist had not gone personal and said I'm confused and all. Be that it is a fact that an ungreased cycle chain also screeches less. The fact of the matter is, for somebody to call Nehru as the greatest Democrat, the guy who brought in the First Amendment to curtail our free speech, the guy who banned tens of books and films and arrested journalists, he is the greatest Democrat, be that as it may.